Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the KMC Controls webinar on KMC Total Control. It's February 15th. We're super excited to have you all here with us for this webinar. Hope you all had a wonderful Valentine's Day and that this month is treating you well. So as I was saying, we are going to be looking at KMC Total Control, kind of really diving into that. And to lead us through that, presenting today we have Kevin Mooney, our resident building genius, and he's going to be walking us through the program and what you can kind of expect to see there. Please feel free to ask questions. You can put those into the dialog box. We are expecting this webinar to possibly run a little bit longer. We have a lot of information to cover, so we'll try to tackle your questions. If we don't get to them at the end, we can always respond to those via email and get the right person to answer your specific question. So without too much of a further ado, I'm going to hand things over to Kevin here in just a moment, and he's going to walk us through the program.
Hello, my name is Kevin Mooney. I've been with KMC some 12 years and been involved in product development of this product, and I just want to show you some. We're working with TotalControl 4, the version 4044. We've added some new features we've carried over from Connect. I just think I want to show you 5 or 6 things that will help improve your time on a job, maybe save some money that your technicians can learn and speed this process up a little bit. We spent a lot of time developing these tools, so hopefully you find them and start using them. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to assume that you used Connect or TotalControl to create a job with the application wizard and deployed that job on the existing network. If you're going to use TotalControl as the front end or the BMS, then I would wait to do trends, schedules, and alarms till TotalControl's up on the site, but it would be okay to deploy and configure controllers with Connect. Schedules, trends, and alarms are all kind of database driven things, so they really need the database to make them work so you can see them on the web. So let's just proceed with assuming that's all done, the deployment's done. And if you need some instruction on their application tools and deployment, there is another webinar available for that you could watch. So I'm going to just pick up from there. So the first thing we're going to do is some trends and some alarms. So we have a new wizard up here on the bar. I'm just going to go to the trend tab. And here is the wizard, configuration wizard. I click on that. It's kind of like gives you a blank screen, and so I'm going to step you through. We're going to just add. So now it gets a little more details. We're doing trends here, and with our new Conquest controllers, these are algorithmic trends, which means it involves an event enrollment and a notification class. And if you've set up very many algorithmic trends, it can be quite daunting because there's 3 objects involved and it takes a lot of time. With this wizard, we basically do everything for you. You just have to tell us what it is you want to trend. So I'm going to trend AV24 on our VAV controllers, which is the actual flow, like the airflow. So I've decided ahead of time that these are trends that I want. I want actual airflow trend, and maybe the flow set point, we'll see. I just don't want to spend a lot of time configuring a bunch of stuff. I just want to get some trends going. This device is, I don't care what the device is, so I use a wildcard, which is the star or asterisk. That's the Shift 8. I put a little asterisk in there, and now I need to know what object the actual flow is. So I knew ahead of time it's AV24. So I'm going to put it in here. And then I'm going to search the network to see what we come up with. So we come up with a whole bunch of AV24s, right? Every controller probably has an AV24. So these are 5901s, rooftop units. They have an AV24, but I don't think they're flow, right? So I'm going to uncheck. I'm just going to uncheck all. And I'm going to get down here to some VAV controllers. So actual flow, here we go. So I'm going to check these, and I'm not going to check all of them on my whole network. You would probably do that on a job if you were really going to trend on all those objects. But for time's sake, for the webinar, I'm just going to do 2 networks of VAVs. Okay, so I've selected which objects I'm going to trend on each controller. I could go ahead down through my object list and pick more, but I'm going to say, okay. So these are the objects on each controller that I'm going to trend. Let's click next. So here's the event enrollment that it's setting up. Probably going to do a 10-minute trend, not a 5. Give myself a little more time. Maybe you can adjust that. Click next. Now it's going out and looking at the other objects on the controller to make sure there's event enrollments available. These are the event enrollments here. Making sure there's a notification class available and trend log objects that are available. So if they're not available, like you don't have enough event enrollments created, it will go ahead and create some. If you don't have enough trend logs, it'll add some. Eventually you'll run out of trend logs, but it'll know that you can add more and just do the work for you. If you're happy with this, it's going to use notification class 1, and it will label each of the event enrollments for you, what they are. So I'm going to click save, and now it's writing them down to each controller. So here we've set up trends on a group of 10 controllers, all with just a couple clicks. And so let's look at one to make sure that it's done what we think it ought to do. Go to the event enrollment class. Right there it is. Those were all empty before. Now it's set up labeled it active flow, and it's set up the trend log right there, active flow. So it's set up a trend log, event enrollment, and notification class. The thing with the notification, I can look over here, did 1. So it does everything for you. It sets up what we think your times are Monday through Friday, and it put the device instance in of the TotalControl site. So this is my device. This is my TotalControl machine, and here's the devices. So all the notifications are going to go into be sent to the TotalControl machine, and actually even put them all in the manager for us. This is how it gets in the database here, and then from here you would have to build your groups so that when you look at them on the web, they would be grouped together with other trend logs that were relevant. All right, so that's done a lot of work for us. That makes setting up trends much easier than it was doing them one object at a time. Same thing with alarms. Let's look at the alarm wizard. Here's our alarm configuration wizard. Looks very similar. Process is very much the same. I'm going to add, now I have to decide what kind of alarm. It helps us with the data type. Most of our alarms, or most of what we teach people, is do a binary alarms. So I'm going to do a binary value alarm. I'm going to say okay to that, and it's going to, again, I don't care about device instances. I'm going to alarm on BV3, which is need more static. So if need more static ever goes off, I need static pressure for my VAV to work, like I'm starving. So if that ever goes off, and a request from the air handler, need more static, I want to know about it. Say that's the alarm. So my object is BV3. I'm going to search. Again, most controllers have BV3 in them, so I'm going to clear it all. And I'm going to be specific about these. These are 9311, which is a unitary controller with an external actuator. This is a 9001, but the objects are the same, need more static. So we did that on purpose. So I'll just do a couple of these networks. Don't need the air handler. Say OK. So it's going to set up alarms for need more static on those controllers. It's going to use the present value. This is the event enrollment. It's going to use change of state. Now it's looking at the controller to make sure it has the event enrollments and notification classes that it needs. We can put a delay in here if we want. 30 seconds on that alarm. It's going to alarm when it's active. So yep, here's where I can do the custom messages for those alarms. This is all database driven. This doesn't exist in the controller, it's in the database. It's going to use, shows us here what event enrollments are going to use and what notification class. You see it's going to use the other notification class 2 here. And I'm going to write 2 devices. Now it sets up alarms on pretty fast. Sets up alarms in the notification class, the other notification class. So here's more static alarm. Wasn't there before. It's using this notification class. So see it's configured also with ACK required and the device instance of TotalControl. So hopefully that saves you some time setting up trends and alarms on the controllers. The wizard is pretty powerful. So I'm going to move to table view for commissioning. A lot of you use the table view. If you just double click on the folder, these are the inputs. This is what we call a table view, but I want to do a custom table view. I don't want to do just inputs like that. I want to do something for commissioning. So let's say I want to turn on all the analog heat valves on all my VAVs. Maybe they're doing some balancing. So let me show you how to do that. You go to the View tab, go to New Table View, and View, Edit, Object Path. So we're going to find a way to browse to the thing we want to add into this. So we're going to add. This is the resource manager. This is the network manager. It's what it's trying to tell us. So we're going to do it on live controllers. So we're going to the network manager and the backnet service. And we're going to find a VAV controller in the list here. Okay. So did I miss that? Rooftop units. Well, why didn't it find VAV controllers? Network manager, backnet manager. There they are. I don't know why I missed them last time. It's right there. There's a 9311 VAV controller. And we said we wanted to look at the analog heat valve. So this is by name. So I'm just going to type in here. There it is right there, the analog heat. So this is the output for the heating. Double click on that, moves it up there. Say, okay. Now I'm going to say okay here, but we only have one controller in there, right? So that's just one. We want more than one. We want all the VAVs with analog heat. So I'm going to go back here. I could have changed it earlier, but I just wanted to show you what's going on. So I'm going to edit this file path. Now I'm going to take this. This is by name, and I'm going to say I don't really care what the name is. I'm going to again use a star for a wildcard. So now it's going to say, oh, here's all the analog heats. I'm going to say okay to that, and then okay to that. So it's going to bring all the analog heats into my table view. So this is a lot of objects, properties, and so I don't need to see all these properties. If I go to View, choose Visible Properties, and just clear all this business, and use Device Instance and Present Value. And I probably want the priority array too, because I'm going to override them, right? I'm going to turn all the valves on, and I want to be able to release that priority. And say, okay, so now it slims it down. So here's all my analog heats for each controller by device instance. And here's the present value and the priority array. So I could take this to 100%. Say, okay, it puts it in override at 8. And then over here, whoops, I need to update it. So this has an auto refresh. You could turn that on. These little swirls mean these are going to be auto refreshed. I can manually refresh the priority array. So if it's green like this, that means I've made a change and hasn't saved it. So I can save it. Now I'm going to refresh it. There it is, 100%. Now I can relinquish it too. So it should be able to relinquish that back to 0 at 9. So this is a way you could go in, instead of having to go object by object and turn on the analog heat, it's here in the table view. Okay, I'm not going to save anything of that. That table view can be saved into a folder so you could reuse it again later. So it asked me if I wanted to save it. I could have saved it like a web page into a folder in my resource manager, and then at any other time later on, I could open it up again and see and do that again. I could move in a new table view and bring in the flow set points and the actual flow and see if anybody was out, and then save that into the resource manager, and then later be able to recall that and see if anybody's out of set point. I'm just trying to show you lots of good stuff here, and trying to stay on time too. So let's talk about graphics, because that's really what this is, an enterprise software that allows you to do some graphics. So like I said earlier, if you've used our deployment tool, it saves in the deployment tool, or in the application wizard with the deployment tool. You create a job, and this was the job I created, was for the webinar, and I deployed to all these controllers over here, so that I have rooftop units, and I have air handler units, and I have VAV controllers, both with 9311s and 9001s. So I did all that with our application tool, and it created this jobs folder for me, and all of this stuff in the jobs folders. Inside the application itself, this is the cooling only VAV. Let me scoot this over a little bit so you can see it's with a 9001 and a 9311. So inside here, I have documentation that was from the library, and part of that documentation is these two diagram files. These are graphics. So these are graphics that were created for you here at the factory that you can use on your job. It's part of our application tool. So if we're going to look at one of this one is, it says GFX. That one is a picture of an air handler, and the text is more of a summary, like a whole bunch of points on a page. So let's just look at one of these that came from the factory. I'm going to open it, pin that back. So this is one that we created, has the set points on it, has other points of interest we thought you might be interested in. But what I want to show you is how we bound the points to this and we relativize this graphic. So under binding points, there's 11. So there's 11 points bound to this page. If we click on that, there's a little box that pops up. Open that box, and these are all the points that are bound to that page. Here are the objects, and you notice that there's no device instance and no COM service because they are relativized. These device relativation is true. So if you want to relativize a graphic, you just right-click and enable or disable relativization, and you can disable that or enable that. And what that means is I can just get a 9311 here and drop it on a graphic, and all the points will bind to that graphic. So I just do it, just drop it like that. I don't want to drop it in one in the resource manager that I've opened. I just wanted to show it what it looks like when it's relativized. So what I did for my job, I'm going to close this graphic. No, I'm not going to save any changes. I copied them out of here into my site. So I'm going to pin this back, and I'm going to open my site. So you can see you caught me in the middle of creating my site because there's lots of structure I had to build in here. So linked copies. So I created a folder over here called linked copies, and I took these graphics out of my resource manager that was in my job folder, and I put them inside folders over here. So this is the graphics for the 9001, and this is the graphics for the 9311. So if I expand this, you can see the naming convention is what I got from here. So I took these two graphics from the 9001, put them in this folder, and then these two graphics from the 9311 and put them in this folder. So that allows me to create some linked copies, so to speak. So these first four are 9311s, and this is a 9001. So if I had to do, so I did this hall 13, I did this hall 14. This hall 15 is only half done. I have the 9001 graphic, but I need the 9311 graphic in there. So that's this guy right here. So I'm going to right click on this and say multiple link copies. What I've done is already bound this one with a 9311 from my network manager. So as soon as I copied it over here, I opened it. When I change this graphic, then the change will show up on all these other ones. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to make multiple link copies. So this is a backnet controller. I'm doing this hall 15, so it's on network 2115. Going to do this controller. Those controllers right there, they're 9311s. I'm going to make multiple link copies of those from this guy, so that anytime I change this guy, these will change. So it puts them down here in with this one. So here's where I can rename them. I just want to call them VAV_11. Right? So I rename that one, and then I can move it up into this group on 15 and rename this one. 12. $13. 14. So now I have this hallway done with multiple link copies, and I'm going to publish it to the web page. I'm going to publish everything to the web server. So now we can look at it on the web and see what that graphic looks like. Now that graphic can be edited. Let's say if you want to change the background because you don't like the background, or change what points you see on there, all you have to do is change this one and it'll change all those. So let's look at one of these. I'm going to right click and go to View in Web Browser. So it's asked me for my password, username. So here's my navigational, and you see I have link copies in there too. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So now I did this 15 network. So here it is. So if you didn't like something here, what I thought about ahead of time, thought, well, what don't they like? So if I change this set point, it's actually going to go into override, because oh, I already changed it on the linked graphic. So I practiced this ahead of time and I changed it, but I can change it back. Maybe you want it to go into override when somebody makes a change here, rather than going to priority 9, you want it to be an override at 8. So I can close this, grab this linked graphic, checks all those out, highlight that, which then uses this property sheet over here, and you can see that I'm writing it priority 9. So I want it to be an override when somebody makes a change there. So I want to write it at priority 8. 8 is an override. Right? So then I can save it. Check it in. Republish it. Now I could have just republished the VAV folder because none of them are up here. You can publish, you can be a little more specific about what you want to publish. So I published that, but you know, I really don't want people messing with these, looking at these graphics down here in this linked copies. So I can right click here and say remove from web server. And now they're not there anymore. So when I go back to my browser, the linked copies aren't there anymore. It only published, or it's only showing the other ones. So we were down here, and let's see what else we got here. See if it changed it everywhere. That's interesting. It didn't update that one. So if I make a change here, there it showed that it was an override. So it's at 8 now instead of 9, showing that it's an override. So what I really want to show you here is the power of these linked graphics. So I could do summary. So this text graphic here is for 9001. Let's see, I don't have anything in the summary. Let me show you this graphic that comes with your, this is something you might find handy. This comes with your jobs folder, and it just has all the stuff relevant. Maybe a technician would like this. And you can limit access to certain graphics to certain people. So your customers may not like this, but your technicians may like this kind of view. You can do that in our users under site. You can set up users security in our security manager. So we have some users there. Well, I think that is, oh, I want to show you one more thing since we have, I know we're running out of time. I'm 3 minutes over, but I want to show you something we're adding to TotalControl. I'm testing it right now on the bench. Just a little peek ahead. You might find very handy is this in the site, we're doing device backup scheduler. So you'll be able to add devices to a scheduler that will back up your controllers on a routine basis. And so this will happen in the background, and it will maintain copies, either B and D copies, which are from the resource manager, kind that can be changed offline, or it will back up BACnet copies, BACnet backup copies. And you'll be able to schedule when you want your controllers to back up. So you will be able to schedule like every day at midnight, every week, monthly, whatever. And you could just add, your whole BACnet service in there. You probably want to do one network at a time. And this look isn't quite finished yet. You'll see this on the next release of TotalControl, and it'll be finished, and you'll be able to tell it how many backups you want it to keep, like 4 backups or 6, and it'll just work in the background when you tell it to back up your site, back up your controllers. So I just thought I want to give you a sneak peek of what's coming up next. So basically that's all I have for you today. I thank you for coming and watching. I hope anything I showed you here, maybe you can use it and maybe save some money, speed up some jobs, and be more accurate. I think that's one of the things I like about the automation of those is I don't make as many mistakes. I do it right once and it's done right 40 times. So thank you for coming and watching. I hope this helps.
Perfect. Well, thank you again, Kevin. That was perfect. Great demonstration. I'm going to take back over here real quick. All right. So just before we end the webinar, I just wanted to remind everybody, go ahead and check us out on YouTube. You can check out all the webinars that we've done so far, including this one. It'll be on YouTube after the fact. We always record them so that you can later access them. We also have a good amount of different playlists on YouTube. So if you're scouring through our channel, you can actually go by playlist and kind of see, we have a webinar playlist, our block programming, conquest, and kind of go through it in that way. Again, that's YouTube, KMC Controls. And then make sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms. We're constantly publishing things on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and of course our YouTube channel that I just talked about. And we appreciate you guys coming by. I know a few of you had questions, and we're going to try to answer those after the fact via email for you and get those taken care of. And again, we thank you all for coming, and we hope you have a wonderful February, and we look forward to seeing you next time. So thank you.